Talk about my job for a bit. I'm gonna talk about my work experience. Basically like what I've learned being there. I've been working at my one job. I'm not gonna mention the name. I've been working there for 3 years. I close, probably like 2.5. But yeah, I'm gonna share kind of just what I've learned directly and indirectly from working. Things that have helped me get through it. Things that have made me find it easier. Things that have made me like work. I'm gonna be talking about that. So like, first thing is I get off the bat is like getting up every day and going there and finding yourself being there a long time is where it gets shitty, where you connect this to you. You connect this job to you, and just like through everything, I think you like identify with what you do. And I think we think too much. And what I did is I would identify myself with this job, and I'd feel like this was the only thing I was doing at the time, so this was my life. And that, it was tough. It gets to a point where most of my time was going to work, so I found myself worrying that I didn't have any time to do anything I liked, didn't have any time to, I couldn't see it through. I was always thinking I couldn't see it through going there every day. But I know now that you get the time to do those things. The time comes when you try to seek the time. That's when it like somehow becomes iffy. It's different from when you were younger, obviously. But like when work plays in, let's say you pick up a job, you start working, and your whole week's took, and you're not used to it. You're there every day, and maybe you got friends who want to hang out with you, and they're not used to you working all the time. You're just overall anxious about it. The one thing I found that helped me is just understanding that this is a different thing compared to like a hobby or like something one may dedicate too much time to. Work is an important thing. So I find that we can break that category of having to worry about ourselves when we worry about being there for a while, because no matter how we feel work is good for us, being there, we're making money, we're providing for ourselves. I would worry a lot because I didn't see any of my friends. I didn't see anyone, and I think they call this dissociation, where you forget who you are. You did this, you did that, and you may not do those things for a while, and you may not see those people for a while, and you like totally, your mind hops off those chemicals, and you see for real. It's like, okay, I'm here at work now. I'm like scanning items or like cooking, and you're just kind of here, and it sucks. Most work we won't like. Most jobs are, something we have to do over and over and over and over and over again. So even if it is at first for a few days really fun, it's gonna burn. It's something you do day in and day out. And that's what I've learned with working for 3 years, is that when I go in worrying, you're gonna go in every day. So, it's going to, something's gonna grow from that, whether positive or negative. And I'm gonna talk about that too. I've been at my job for a while, and basically at first I, like for a really long time, I did not like it. For the first year I was working there, it was way long ago when they paid $11 an hour, and it was like the public, like talking to the people. Which isn't bad. It doesn't seem bad, conversing with people. That's something most people want to do. It's it helps with communication. And that's why I initially took the job at Butera, because I was going to be forced into that communication. I was going to be forced into interaction. I thought that taking this job would help me talk, be more like confident with speaking. I won't seem shy or this or that, when I move into an adult and I can just talk to people. I thought, getting forced into that interaction would help. So with this job, I was talking to customers a lot, and I had a positive outlook for it. I always ran into negative people. There was always something, because there was always like a shitty day. It was Monday and it was raining or something, and you look and there's like really no reason somebody wants to be there. They're stressed and like, you can't like circumnavigate everyone too much. So you just gotta help them. That's what I've learned. My job, and most jobs, are just a service to them if you're working with the public. So when you run into someone who's shitty, you're like, find everything all right today or something, and they're like giving you shit, it's just like, Another thing I want to break into that is taking those type of things personal. At first with my job, I found that I would really think about the customers and the interactions. I'd think about the good ones. I like the customers that were nice, and you're like, yeah, I had a good day, this and that. But I would think about the negativity a lot. I'd think about why they're negative, if it's my fault. I knew it wasn't. I knew most times I was just obviously taking it personal. That's a natural thing to want to think it's personal. But it was just them having a shitty day paired up to me, and it was just, at the time I wasn't like, I wasn't set for that. I was like, whoa, is he being mean to me? And I got it a lot. That's the thing I wanted to teach with jobs, is you can't have this expectation of what your job can be like. Like any one of those days, somebody could have robbed the place, and it could have been one of the days where I had that positive mindset. You don't want to think like that, but like being there for a long time, or being there, getting up every day, I've had so many different days. I've had a good and a negative, a good and a negative, a negative and a good and a negative, and there isn't, you're not... They say there's power in your mindset, in the way that you can like go about your day. If you go with a positive mindset, you do this, and you go with a negative mindset, this happens. They say there is power in that. But I elaborate on this by saying that when you're here every day, there's so much that you cannot expect. And when you go with a mindset of ease, the unexpected can throw you off. So when I go into work now, 3 or 2.5 years later, I go into work now, I go in without expectation. I don't go in sad per se, and I don't go in like shouting happy. I just go in like chill, humble. I don't need to, I'm just like, I'm going here. It's not the 9 to 5, but it's like, it prevented me from getting upset. Because I would find things that I'd like about my work, and I would go in happy. And then I would have a really shitty day, and then I'd be like, fuck this place. Or, this is really weird, vice versa. I'd go in with a negative mindset, and then I'd have a really good day, and I'd hate that because I had a negative mindset. That was harnessed off of a negative mindset. Like, overall, what I'm trying to say is, like, my experiences would vary from day to day. I'd have a good day, an iffy day, a good day. Like I'm saying, like, there'd be so much. Every day you'd have to learn something. Every day something was thrown at me. And you could look at that as it being a tough job, but it's just like, then you can learn that there are different ways to go into that positively. Like, I learned that I'm taking in these lessons from work. I'm having like this, like a tough day. But then when I because it's all about expecting, I would expect negative days. Maybe then I'd have a good day, and then I'd have a bad day. And I expect positive days, and then, like I was just saying. So I learned to go in to just have a humble mindset, not expect anything with work, just go in, work. It's hard to, like, when you're there a lot, you're used to so many thoughts, but now when I go in, I just kind of like, regardless of what it's going to be, like if it's a Monday or some shit, usually Mondays are busy. Every single time I go in on a Monday, it's usually going to be busy, let's just say. Right? But the next time I go in on a Monday, I'm just not going to think it's going to be, just whatever. Even if it is, just, I'm not going to think I made it happen or didn't make it happen or altered it by thinking about it, Because when you go in and be humble, it is the hardest thing to do. Because life is very, like, emotional, if that makes sense. Like, not emotional, but like an emotion required. Where it's like, when you try to be humble, then life is going to try to get a reaction out of you. When I'm sitting there at work and I'm trying to keep my composure, and then shit's fucking up, and then a customer is yelling at me for something, and I'm really trying to keep my composure, and I still keep trying to find myself finding that composure. It's tough. And then what'll happen is Yeah, like what'll happen is I'll just like I'll be working and it'll try to kind of change my like vibration. I'll be all upset. Don't kind of want to get out of there now because it's like I'm trying to find my cool and I can't hear. So I'm just like I'm working. I'm like that's where I don't like it, and I'll have days like that countless. You'll have days like that. I'm sorry for my grammar. You'll have days like that happen. You'll have days like that a lot where you're in there and you're like pressured and working, and that's what I've learned to expect but not expect, where it's like if I expect good then I'm going to get hurt at work, but then if I expect the negative, it's like then you are looking at work at a negative way, and then that's how they would view that. But know that there are things that come with work. So when you expect the negative, you're not necessarily expecting the negative. That's just that superstition kicking in, And I found you're better off expecting the negative than, because then the negative doesn't happen. You're like, oh. But if it's something that you're used to happening, you're better off with it. But then what you do with that is you develop just a negative mindset, because then there's a lot of things that become negative. Like I'm saying, when you're trying to learn to become positive or humble at work, I've found the days I'm trying to be humble or chill at work, then things are pissing me off. Things are going to piss me off. And I think that there's still expectation in me trying to have my composure. I'm trying to expect composure. I'm just like, whatever happens. It's work. I think it's going to be tough. Just throw it off the back burner. You're going to be good. Whatever happens to you is going to happen to you. I think it's out of your control range. And I think a lot of the times we can't do anything about what happens to us at work. It's a different environment too, because we have to like mask it too. We're at work. We have to mask it. That's overall the big thing is most of our things are masked. That's why I'm talking about composure, because you can't really lash out and, so you're thinking about this in your head, but you are trying to be happy. You're trying to be chill. You're trying to get out of there to work, but then these things are worrying you, I found that the ways that I have the good days at work, the ways that I have a day where I look back and I'm like, yeah, today was pretty cool compared to where today was stressful, today was tiring, is where I know I went in with no expectations. I went in, your knowledge of work grows the more you go there. If you're there for 2 years, work is this way. So it's still a lot of strength to show up every day, to turn off the emotions. And I think that's the truth. I think that's the true strength. I think that's the true strength, is life throws you so many emotions, so many scenarios that it is one of the toughest things. It's difficult to be humble. It's very difficult to be calm and relaxed with where you are. So that's ultimately like the highest power of what you're going through, to learn that, just to not expect anything at work. It's work, because you're getting paid, But I talk about this because I don't know if anyone else battles with this as much, but maybe some people, but I would have really bad days at work, and I think it was mostly because I wanted to go in and have a good day, and I thought it was bad if I didn't have a good day. I thought it was a bad thing if I had a bad day at work. I thought it was connected to me, something I did. I'd have a positive mindset, and I come in with a positive mindset, and then things attack me at work, and it's like I was trying to have a positive mindset, And I think that's another thing I want to talk about, where it's like, it's okay if those things at work attack you. You must know that you went in with a positive mindset regardless. A positive mindset is always good no matter what, but then it can't be matched at work. So if you're doing this day in and day in and day in and day in, like an adult, you go in like walking. You're not expecting, just like walking. You don't think about the steps in a positive or negative way. You just do it. And that's another way I wanted to word this, just kind of going into work, just doing it. Just do it. Do it all you can. Do it to your best. And I don't think about it. It's hard to think about it, but just kind of thinking about it, isn't going to matter as much as you doing it, if that makes sense. Thinking about it. For an example, you got work. You're thinking about work. It doesn't matter if you think about it or don't, you're going to work. So it's like thinking about it doesn't matter. It could just make it worse, you know? And I found that a lot of the days I wait on that. I think about work too much and I just make it, the days I work, I think about that more, you know? And then when my schedule comes up, I think about my schedule. It's tough for me to not think about work. It plays a lot, but I'm learning to go in with a humble mindset, just like not expect everything. I'm working, I'm making money. There is good to make from that, but it can be tough when you have a very stressful job. It beats you at the end of the day and you're just like, ugh, I'm tired, you know? But then you have good days and then you get off and you're like, yeah, today was a really good day. I like this place, you know? You don't know how that happened. You know, it just happens. You have good days. You just have good days and you just have bad days. Don't try to make the bad days good at work. You know, it's just like kind of like that's the ultimate strength is like whatever you're handling, you know? I find like a very good day is when you go through work and all that bullshit happens and then you just finish. You know, that was a good day at work, a stressful day. I feel rewarded after a long, hard day at work at the end of it. But when I'm working in the moment, I hate it. Like, it's like stressful. I want to get out of here. But then always at the end of the shift, I'm like, hey, I finally, you know, that was good. I'm finally out of there. Thank fuck. You know, that would be once. And I'm saying that things develop through time. That's what another thing is time builds the fundamentality. Time builds the understanding. So let's say this job is still new and you don't really understand how you feel about being there. The time builds how you know, like I'm saying with this, I'm training you to go in humble. And if you go in each day just like chill, humble, not expecting, you'll have much better days at work. Because compared to me going in each day, training myself to roll the fucking dice with how the day was going to be. Because that's what I do. Every day starting work, I'd think, okay, today going to be good or bad. And I'd right there determine if today was going to be good or bad. I have no idea if today is going to be good or bad. And I thought that through the time of me working there that I knew because of like my experience, it was like almost ego played into it where it was like I wanted to know what I was going through, but life was always giving me something new to learn every day. And which was tough because I wanted to go through something with confidence and know I'm doing something. But there was always a scenario that kind of like threw me off in that position. But yeah, let's see if I can go into another topic here. Yeah, like the tough days were ultimately the best reward. I'll go back on that. Like the days that were stressful, I trained myself when I'm thinking at work. I could identify the stress immediately now where I'm working and a big giant fucking cart full of items comes up. I'm like, oh, bet. You know, that's obviously something I know in my mind I don't like, but I'm going to do it either way, you know. And I think there comes, there's like understanding that that's okay. If you don't like that, that's fine. You're going to do it either way, and that's the best part about it is that the action does speak louder than the words. Because you're there doing it. You're there helping that person. You're taking care of that person. As much as you hate being there, don't like the job, sick of it, want to get out of there, you're doing it despite all those negative emotions. And that's stronger than somebody liking doing it. Because somebody that likes to do it's going to do it without thinking about it. That's the thing. But somebody that doesn't like to do it's going to be really bad about doing it. But they still do it for the other person. So that is considered too. So like overall when you work, you're doing it for the other person. If you don't like going in, you show up for the money and you kind of show up, you know, because like that, you know, you help there. You're a help there. I had to cut the clip yesterday, so kind of lost my train of thought. So in general, I wanted to emphasize on how time builds the fundamentality at work. How the first week or the first couple days of work are always going to be iffy or wishy-washy or just uncomfortable is what I feel. Because I'm moving into a next position now. I'm feeling like I want to move up because like I said, I've been there for a while. I've been at that job for a while. So I'm moving up. I want to move to this next position that pays more, is higher up. But overall, it's going to be a new environment for me. And I have a little bit more anxiety towards this, a little bit more, because I've been at this previous job for like 2.5 years. So leaving this job ultimately also feels like, I'm gonna miss this job. I might miss a lot. And that's what I've learned when I quit back a long time ago. I'll get into this a little. So basically, when I was working there for 11 an hour, I ran into a rude customer one day. Basically, the scale machine was broken at work, and I was weighing all the food, and this ginger root came up on the weight, and it weighed incorrectly, and the dude was really upset. He was foreign, and he was yelling at me in some language, and it freaked me out. And I remember I walked up to the counter, and I told him, I put in my 2-week notice, and I filled it out. And I remember the next 2 weeks of work on a 2-week notice, like those last 2 weeks felt weird because they were your last 2 weeks, but they were, honestly, it was a good last 2 weeks, and I didn't like that. I didn't like that I enjoyed my last 2 weeks of my 2-week notice because there's a reason I quit. I didn't like it, so it's like then things are changing, and I was like kind of. But when I quit that job and I moved to a different environment, basically I'm moving from grocery sort of to the food industry, right? I'm moving to making pizzas. I learned that there was a lot that I had at that one job that I didn't have here. And it was the people, it was the environment, it was the space, there was a bunch. I didn't learn that at my work there was a lot of room. It was a grocery store, it was huge, so, that was one thing I didn't consider. My new place was really small, it was packed, there wasn't a lot of space, room to move or think, and then like the people were another thing too. I feel like at my previous work, we didn't talk to people as much. Like the job I'm at now, we didn't talk to people as much. We were working, we were usually scanning items, and then when we were done, we had the chance to talk to people, and it became more of like a rarity to speak to people. So you were more open to speaking to your coworkers, like, hey, how you been? How you doing? What time you work till? Just like stupid shit you ask them every single day. But you guys talk, because it's like you both just went through that same stress, and you both kind of get it. So like what I was saying is like, if I were there at that job for long enough, like that one I didn't like, I would have eventually acclimated. Because I'm saying I was at this one, and then I quit, moved to this one that was like the food industry, and I didn't like it. Then I moved back to my main one. But I'm saying with the food industry that I would have eventually acclimated. I would eventually acclimated to the enclosed environment and not talking to people, But it's just kind of what you acclimate to. Just know, like, no matter what, the time is going to cause you to acclimate. And that's something weird because at the job I've had now, I've had a lot of shitty days where it's like stressful. Customers are coming constantly. You don't have a drink. You're like, there's variables that mess with you. Like you're constantly worrying about your hunger. You're constantly worrying about your thirst. It's constantly busy. This is just an environment you constantly don't like, and you think the growth will happen from one of those, but then you leave at the end of the day, you're just like, man, today was shitty, and ultimately I've found that it's just time and time and time that it will happen, that then you just are demoralized to the situation. No, not demoralized, but like you don't lobotomize to it. You don't really, emotions don't really play into it as much. And I've learned that because, beginning, I used to freak out with crowds. Now I don't really freak out with crowds. When I see crowds, I react, but it's just like a small mental reaction. It's not big. It's, it's just like me knowing what it will impend, but the conditioning of being there time and time and time again ultimately like strengthens me with being comfortable, knowing I've done this before. Okay, I've been through this before time and time again. This is fine, and I think that's what it is too, when ultimately it's a brand new scenario. And you think you don't know what's going to happen when it's that brand new scenario. Think God knows what's going to happen in this scenario when you're like, oh, it just happens. And that happens all the time too. And then that will also create a bad day when something out of nowhere comes out. You don't want that to happen at work. And then you're anxious that that's going to happen all the time. And then, one scenario could really mess things up at work, So when you consider those, and you want to work on becoming stronger, it's just kind of something that you have to keep doing. It doesn't, you can, here's, because like what I used to do is I thought that the strengthening was looking at each and every one of those scenarios that would happen, because I was really taking it personal at that point, because I wanted the strength and I wanted the growth. So consider that I'm taking all the customers yelling at me, I'm taking all the negative days, I'm taking what I'm receiving and I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, okay, why am I feeling upset? Why am I stressed? Why did this person get mad at me? And I'm worrying about all the little things throughout the process instead of just trusting it. And basically, I was working towards the wrong, instead of realizing that me just doing that was fine, I was working on what that one customer was upset, so I did bad today. Well, I didn't really do bad today because I showed up like I did every day. I did what I was supposed to. I showed up, in general, I look at it back and nothing went wrong. The place wasn't robbed, I wasn't short in my drawer, which is the one thing, But I think like when I said the time builds fundamentality, you'll be there a lot of days not knowing what you're doing. And I can't stress that enough, that there were like weeks and weeks and weeks that I really wanted to get out of there. But then there was like one day that like locked me. Oh, okay, cool. It's really cool working here. I'll have a really good day, and it'll like, I don't know. I think it's like, I feel like it's the reward for the patience. Like you were patient, something was coming, but you weren't. It's just a good reward for just the hard work. And I think the hard work was identified in your head when you created these variables and you're like, man, this place sucks. This place is tiring. I want to quit. And you don't. That's the strength, And I think that's what happened with me, because I ran into these scenarios and I ran into these situations that stressed me, that made me want to quit. I ran into negative customers, and maybe one negative customer per week is like not bad, but when you're running into negative customers every day, that really tells you what a world we live in. This is the world. Because I'm not far off from society when I'm meeting customers, like 200, 300 customers a day, and I don't really see most of these people smile. I'm like, hey, I wonder what most of these people are thinking about, But then I'm thinking too much. I'm like, oh, they're in a grocery store. What the fuck are they smile about, I overthink too, so I have to learn to turn that off. But back with what I was saying. I'd have days where I really didn't know what I was doing there. I wanted to quit. I was like, man, this place sucks. But then I had a good day where a customer would say something cool, thank me for being there, tell me I'm doing good, tell me to keep up the good work, tell me this, tell me that, have a good talk with me, kind of put me back in society, make me feel, makes me feel comfortable that I'm working there almost. Because it's like, it relieves that anxiety. And I find that happens. When I'm working here for a while, I can't expect that, because that does happen impulsively, randomly. You get those good events that come out of nowhere. But the best way I could find to have good events like that is just to learn, like I've said previously, to just not expect anything when you're working, to just go in with a, happy mindset. Know what work is. Work is stress. You may have a really bad day. You could always have a really bad day, but there's no really bad day as long as you make it out in the end. And then you could make it out in the end, and then it's like, okay, it's all identified. And no matter how much you fear work, that just adds to it. If you fear work more, getting through it is just more of a reward. Not much people fear work. People have a good day. People will have a good week, and then one day will happen, and then it's like, But to control that, I think there's not something you can tell someone at the end of a shift. They feel rewarded or they don't. They're tired. They're exhausted. They're overwhelmed by all these things. They're probably just hungry. They don't even know it. But they're just exhausted and tired at the end of work. Probably just need to get some rest. They were just, for me, staring at a screen for 7 hours at work, or like they were making food for 8 hours, smelling steak for 8 hours. Like I really can't imagine people working in the food industry. I don't know. I really can't imagine them smelling a single food each day, what that does to them, how that alters their mind of that food. You ever think about that? Like, just a random place for an example, Chipotle. You ever think about the workers that fucking serve that Chipotle all fucking day? Do you think they eat that? It's like, I always wonder like what they think about this, because they're looking at it 8 hours a day. Like, they're staring at it and probably identified it, and fucking they're thinking about the food all day, you know? I'm like, and that's how it gets at that's how it gets at my work, where it's like I look at some things at work, like I would never buy the meat at my place. I would never buy cooked food because I have in time. The cooked food was horrible. It was, it's the same here. They probably learned that same shit. Oh, the food here is shit. I've tried it. I don't like it, They probably know where that shit comes from too, like the truck. It's probably all frozen, just microwave. They probably know it's crap. But I'm going off on a tangent. Basically, give me a sec. I'm trying to remember where I was at. Right. So like I had those days at work where, for an example, I'll say today. I'll talk about today at work. Today was like a pretty boring day. I went in, talked to my coworkers, and they were like, "Hey, it was busy earlier." So I'm like, "Hey, I got something to feel relieved about when I went in, because I'm like, hey, I missed the crowd, but it was busy out. It was crowded outside on the, so I knew it was probably going to be busy later. So I clock in, get in, and it was a relatively slow day. And I actually ended up getting sent home 2 hours early. It was so slow. There was no customers today. There was literally not a single customer today. And this was weird. This was a weird occurrence. I usually don't get sent home 2 hours early. That's if it's dead slow. There was no busyness today. There was a power outage. It was bad out. Nobody went out. There was variables too, but basically I'm like moving my hand a lot. I was thinking about that because yesterday I was recording this first clip and I was saying like how you expect stress in work, and yesterday I was thinking about that. I was like, yeah, I think about how before work I expect the worry, and when you expect the worry, expect the stress. That's better than expecting the good, so you're not hurt. And I was expecting stress at this day. I was expecting stress yet again. I was expecting a stressful day. It was Wednesday. I was like, man, it's busy out. I bet it's going to be busy. I don't know. But then in that expectation, it got halted. Then it's like a blizzard out, there's nobody in, and I got sent home, so that expectation I had just got unmatched, and I don't know why I had that expectation. It was just kind of how the situation played out. It was stressful getting to work, and I think that stress carried through to the work zone. I was like, I think I didn't have that time to think in that clarity because of the cold, and then getting in the car, and then I think all that proved I was stressed when I wasn't thinking about things and the way I was moving, and I was moving fast. But today wasn't stressful, but I did get sent home early, and then I was like, today was pretty good. I have time to record this video now, why not? Today was pretty boring. I got to talk with my coworkers, It was overall, it was a good day. It was a good day. Most people don't like sitting there, standing, doing nothing. But I've had days where I've been countlessly helping customers. So like I've said, they make you appreciate each day. So that was a good day. And what I would do is I'd go into the next day, tomorrow, which I work, expecting another good day. And then tomorrow would be stressful as shit. So that's why I'm saying this. Tomorrow, what I'm going to do is not be guided by that day. That day had its conditions. Those conditions may not play. Tomorrow they may. Who knows? It may be dead again. It may not. So I can't worry about it. I must just go in with an open mind. Just expect whatever. Just be calm. And I think the more you work there, the harder that is, because you're like, the more and more and more and more. Like I said, you've been learning from this. You can't help but to learn from scenarios. So when new things come out of the blue, it's always annoying because you want to feel comfortable in a situation. You want to know, but the way to grow is to ultimately always expect those new scenarios. So to go with that open mind, to not expect happiness, to not expect sadness to just, go to work. That's what I'm going to do tomorrow, and I'm going to see how it goes. I might make another video finishing, see how it does. But let's think. I'll think of like another stressful day, Friday, right? I'll think, okay, Friday was stressful. And Friday was stressful because it was busy, there was customers, it was understaffed. That's a mix. When it's understaffed and then the customers come in, there's only 2 people helping everyone. It that adds to the disorientation. You're like, man, there's only 2 people helping. I'm a very big importance, because if I go do something, like I go get a drink or go to the bathroom for a minute, then my one person's fucked helping everyone. And that's what would happen. Like, I'd have to go to the bathroom because I'd have to go to the bathroom, and then I'd come back and there's a line of fucking people, and I'm like, shit, there's stress. But I've done that time and time again, so I know I just turn my light back on and start scanning the items, get it done. I know I'm going to do it, so the worry is not going to play in. But then let's say I'm so expecting at doing this where I'm not worrying, and then something happens, like Friday. Basically what happens is, okay, 2 things. Number 1, this alcohol. I drop alcohol. So like I'm scanning items quick, I'm moving super fast, I'm sweating, I'm moving at a pace, and I grab a bottle too quick and I push it, and it's a giant bottle, and it spills off the counter, right? It explodes. It's red. It's blood colored. It's a wine. It's expensive, and it's like, I just broke that. So the customer freaks out. The customer like my coworker, same thing. They're both scared. I freak out. I'm worried. I freak them out. I run over. I start cleaning it up. It's just a whole big mess that it happened in like that. I'm just moving, and then boom, just like that shit happens, and I'm like, oh, I'm working, and then I had to turn my light off, and then that one customer's helping everyone, and then I had to clean all this wine up. I wasn't doing it right. I got the mop, but that shit dries, so it sucked. So at work, I was cleaning that wine. I'm like, man, I don't know what happened. Now I got to slow down. But I've been working here for like so long. I'm so good at moving fast. That was just an accident. But now I got to be cautious of what I'm doing because of that happened. I had a setback that day. I was like, man, I'm pissed that happened. And the rest of the day, I was all humble. I was working. And I got out of there. And then I remember later on, because this was like early on in the day, I think later on in my break, gets busy again, and there's this piece of chicken that doesn't have the correct price on it. So I scan it, and it's like 7 some shit. And she's like, no, that's supposed to be 3 something. It's supposed to be 99 a pound, right? Because it's ringing up $1.99 a pound, which would make it like 6, 7, 9 if it's like 2 or 3 pounds, right? But it was supposed to be like 99 or 69 a pound, which with a 3-pound chicken would be like $3. So she was like, no, that's supposed to be $3. So basically what ended up happening is I was like, well, it's busy. I have my manager's card. I'm not calling her over here. I got a busy line. They're going to yell at me if I leave. They see me not moving. And so I fixed the price of the chicken. And so what I did is I reweighted under the 99 because it wasn't put in correctly. She had even showed me a photo on her phone of the sign over there, right? So I had believed her. Right, so cut to later in the day, and basically I was telling my coworker about it. She's like, what'd you do? I'm like, basically I fixed the chicken. She said it was wrong, and she's like, what'd you do? I'm like, I fixed it. And basically she was like, no, it's $1.99 this week. It's I think she lied to you. And then I was like, no, she showed me a photo. And then she went to go look in the flyer and it's like, nope, it's not $99 this week. You got fibbed. You told me I got, well, not fibbed, but lied to, basically. She lied to me. And I didn't believe that. Something in my head, I was like, man, this lady wouldn't lie to me about some chicken. But, everything's going up. Who knows? Basically, I was thinking about it the rest of the day. I was soaking on it. I was like, man, that these things were attacking me today. There's days where it just feels like something's attacking you. Those 2 things happen, and then later on, I get off of work and I'm just like, man, today I don't know how to make this good because I'm worrying about these two things. But one thing I'm doing now is realizing that when I'm driving home, that's good. Like when I'm learning and looking back at my day, like, it's over, I got out of work, it's good. Some days I have really bad days where it's like, then I'm actually looking, thank fuck I made it out, Most people shouldn't have to go through that, but it's because I don't nourish myself some days properly, and like I'll go in hungry and it's just like super bad. That's kind of why that ends up happening some days, but excuse me. Not usually will I have horrible days like that. I'll have good days, but there's a lot of variables. Like I say, I'll forget to eat one day and then that'll hit me like halfway through work and my stomach will be hurting and I can't do anything because I'm helping customers. I can't eat. Like some days I'd have to go to the bathroom, sneak in food there because I'd forget to eat some days. But now I'm working on eating before work so that I don't have that variable to worry about later on. And then when I don't have that to worry about, then I could just focus more on work. I won't have to worry about my stomach hurting, because that's one big thing that ends up happening. Because I'm moving fast at work, I'm using my energy, and what ends up happening would be like 2 hours into work, my stomach would hurt. And if my break's in 3 hours, I'm like, shit, I've got to go like stomach pain for a long time. So now I'm learning that when that happens, I'm like, fuck that, I don't want to go through that. So I'm going to the bathroom, getting a protein bar. But now I really got to like find the time early to eat. It's something that I have to strengthen myself with, because I don't want to get up on the early days. For an example, today I worked 11 and I wanted to sleep in. I didn't really want to wake up early and get food because the roads were shit, this and that. They were basic excuses, but I was just tired. I was just tired, exhausted. I had work. I didn't want to do that. And then that'll hit me later at work because I'm like, man, I wish I had food in me, because then I wouldn't be worrying about my stomach right now. I wouldn't be thinking about my break. I'm thinking about my break, and then it's becoming hard to see it. When I'm thinking about my break, then I'm not in the headspace. I'm not talking to the customers. It sucks. Then I'm like, when you're worrying about shit at work, you're worrying about this, then that. It sucks. You don't want to have to go through that. I found myself in that situation. That's another thing inside. Make sure you're eating. I know you guys are, but I'm just different with that. So that was one thing that was happening with me at work. Sometimes I found it was like the food. Like basically with that alcohol, I have to grab it like carefully now, because I'm worried that shit's gonna happen. Because I move fast. If I grab it too quick or it's off the counter, it fucking breaks. I don't want it to break again. If I could recall another time that happened, oh my god, this was a worse time. So this one person got these type of pickles, and I grabbed them, and they just slipped, and they fell, and they broke. And I'm like, I'm sorry, can I get another one? And he's like, oh, that's the last one. And I'm like, yeah, of course it's the last one, and I was like, shit, that is, that was, Murphy's Law. If it could happen, it's going to happen. It just got worse. I've had a bunch of scenarios, like, worse scenarios at work. Here's one for an example. A $30 tilapia fish, or whatever they call it, this $30 fish. I don't think it was tilapia. I'm just thinking of a fish name that we have. But it was this $30 cut of fish, right? Somebody doesn't want it for some reason, and I put it back in the cart. And then I go back to work. Do you see what I did wrong there? I put it back in the cart. I was supposed to put it back in the fridge section, but I put it back in the cart. What I didn't mean by cart is I just walked back and I put it back in this return cart we have. And then like an hour later, everything smells fishy. Like literally, everything smells fucking fishy. And this is the main lobby. Like you walk in and you just smell like fucking sea. And I remember I picked up the smell just as the same time my manager's telling me, did you put this there? And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, you got to put this in the fridge. This is fucked up now. We can't serve this. And I was like, shit, I messed up the fish. I wasted that down the drain. They cut that. They served that. It was expensive, but those scenarios at work in general, all those will make me feel like I did bad at work. Right? Those those are what the lessons are teaching me, because at work I excel to do good. I want to do good there. So when those happen and I look at myself and I feel like I don't do good, I try not to let that re-guide my entire day, because I'm going to go in the next day and it's going to be different. I'm going to go in I'm going to see it through. Oh, it's okay. I'll go in the next day. That thing with the chicken, like I was saying, was, I was saying something with, I think I mentioned something with the chicken. I don't know. But I was saying something with the chicken that was vital, or something I fucked up earlier, because it got somebody else in trouble too, with the fish. That got somebody else in trouble, that they had to throw that away. I bet the manager was talking about that, I realized these variables mess with other people and I really can't do these, but then I worry. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. It really came up. Excuse me, I don't know what's happening to me today. But I have to go in the next day and try my best, even though the way I look at myself through that work experience. So that's what I'm learning. And then when I do that, when I just see it through and just regardless of what happens, I'm going to go in, fresh mindset, new day. I'll then have better days. And I'm talking now because I'm having a better day at Butera. This was all last week's shit. Like, can you imagine? I dropped alcohol, I effed up that, I effed up this, all in like a week, and it was all packed, it was all busy. And then I called off sick one of the days, so I ended up making less money that week. So it was just, it didn't feel good. So instead of going into the next week thinking that job's bad because of those few experiences, no matter what, now I have these good experiences. Like I said, today was pretty cool, nothing happened. And from the retrospect, a lot of people would see nothing happening as boring, but I'm happy because nothing happened. No yelling customers, no stress, no busyness. It was just a calm day. I got sent home early and I got some more time to chill out at the house. I think today was pretty cool. I look at it like, but then I'm not going to hold on to that too hard and be like, oh, work is dope, and then go in tomorrow and then it's packed or busy and I'm like, oh, but no matter what, I can go in tomorrow and say work is dope. I'm going to go in no matter what. If it's busy or not, I'm going to go in and I'm going to do it just without worrying, without thinking about it. I've learned the biggest reward is when you go in, just no matter how it is, regardless of how you were thinking, and just do it without letting the emotions play in. I think of it like this. It's so easy for us to react in emotion. For an example, like I see with my customers at work, it's so easy for them to point out negativity. It's so easy for them to say something they don't like. It's so easy for them to feel something in discomfort. I see it a lot. Every customer mentioned today the weather. Or out of the few customers we had today, they mentioned the weather. But basically, what I'm saying is like, let me think for a sec. I think I lost my train of thought again. Damn it. I just lost my train of thought. Sorry, give me 1 second. I remember. Life gives us these variables that want us to react. All the time, I feel like life gives us these variables that try to force a reaction out of us. And I feel like for some, the strongest thing to do is to just relax and be humble and look at what you have, look at what you're dealing with, and be like, whatever, I'm going to do it. And I found the best reward from doing that. It can be the hardest, and that's how the system works, how it rewards. I don't get it. It doesn't really reward comfort. I didn't get a huge reward today. Really, I didn't. But my reward was the relaxation and the comfort that I had. So I'm thankful for that. But then when you have a stressful, anxious day, you get a reward at the end of it. You get you get a good feeling, you get happy, you get exhausted, you get tired, I feel like what it is it takes your mind off of it, and then you focus your energy on it, and then the universe actually sees that you were working hard in that scenario and rewards you. And it does work. If you believe that you can be rewarded for those things, it really does work. I found the days where I really do work and do my best and take on the strength I'll walk back from the bathroom at work or walk into work and obviously see it's busy. I'm like, all right, I'm going to deal with some busyness today, right? It gets stressful, and the same things I'm used to dealing with, I deal with every day. And I'm like, man, this is no reward. But then I get out and I'm like, I get to do what I want. I get my time after I'm done. And you get these little rewards throughout the day through progress. You can't physically see it, but it is just something that happens with the time that is built into you and the conditioning. And that's something that I've learned through the hard days. So it's good when you look at work like this, when you have easy days, they're relaxation, and then the hard days at work can strengthen you. And if you have a hard day every day at work, then you're constantly being strengthened at work. Usually what happens, and you usually see this, is when you're beginning a job, you usually have a lot of hard days. I found that beginning my job, it was a hard month. It was sucked. Every day I went in, it seemed like every day I was stressed, and probably around 4 hours I'd want to get out of there every single day. It was just something that was the way I was. Maybe it's just who I was, but some situations are just stressful. They just are. But then we do them more and more, and we learn that we can do them, and then there becomes different stressors that we learn to fixate on, and then when we fixate on those different stressors, we learn that we're fixating on different stressors because we're comfortable with these ones. It's tough. I'm like, if you're following me, it makes sense, but in conclusion, I found the days where the unexpected stress will reward me, where I just take it on with the ease of mind. Don't worry about it. Just, it's going to be okay no matter what. Even if it's not, it's going to be okay. Just don't worry. Just, I found days where I kind of couldn't do that. Really couldn't. But you're just doing it. It's just doing it. It's hard to find an emotion to portray the correctness. That's one thing. There's no emotion to portray the correctness, and I'm telling you all to be humble, to be correct. Life is going to push that from you, and if you aren't humble, and if you don't react humble, that's fine. But as long as you're going through that toughening situation, then it's okay. That's what matters. I think when I say go through it humble, it's pressure when then you find yourself getting angry and frustrated and sad when you go through these scenarios, because it's like I physically cannot find myself finding that humbleness in the moment. But no matter what, it's hard to turn your mind to look at it this way, but the fact that you are looking at yourself and trying to find comfort and trying to figure out the scenario and realizing you're stressed is all good. It's part of the process. It's just part of seeing it through. And I guess I'm talking from seeing it through with this job. I've seen it through for a while, and I've seen that I've learned a lot, and I've grown a lot from certain scenarios. I can take getting yelled at a customer. I can take a lot of scenarios. I've learned a lot of communication, and I haven't looked at it now, but life has thrown me a lot of situations that I don't like to strengthen my communication. It all starts with going in and being eager to learn. You have to be eager to learn too. You have to want to have that change too. It can be hard to find a positive mind, but just going in and doing it. Like I said in the past, just going in, however you feel, that's the best part. Imagine going into work upset. You went into work upset. So I feel like that's a better reward, because in my eyes, I see that. You didn't want to go into work because you were bothered by something, but you still went in because of the other people. So that's something that should be rewarded. Kind of just like explaining my routine for work, almost like kind of how I perceive it. I'll go in on a day that I don't do work, and I'm like, I didn't work as much. It's okay. It was a relaxing day. I'm happy I didn't have a stressful day. But then the days where it is stressful, I look at it like I'm going to take it the best I can. If I do make it out, I do. I don't. That's bullshit. Like I won't not make it out. Like that's just like something I tell myself. It's just like I'm going to do it no matter what. I'm going to get through it. It's going to be stressful, but whatever. And I'll get through it, and I'll feel rewarded because it was stressful. And it would get worse. Like it'd get more stressful than like I'm hungry, and after I went all through that, I'd be just tired, and some days I wouldn't have the brain space to think about how I would reward myself. But I look at it now, and the more I go through that, I did go through that, so that was strong of me to do that. That was strong. That was a lot. I help like 300 customers a day, and then I do that weeks in and weeks in and weeks in. So that's a lot. The industry with the customers is not easy. I can say that for sure. So I'm kind of just talking about like how I view it. I'm going into work tomorrow feeling like if it's busy, it's busy. I'll learn something. I always look to learn something from work, and that's not like I won't learn something if it's not busy. I'm always learning something from work. Because I'm eager to learn, I want to learn stuff regardless of how I learn stuff. I think people want to learn stuff in the good way, but I feel like sometimes life teaches you things through the wrong variables, through the wrong people, and in work, it can teach me things through the wrong things. Like I didn't want to learn some things through dropping the alcohol, for an example, but getting through it, learning to calm down, not worrying about it too much, and looking back on it now, I laugh about it. That was something I knocked on myself in the moment really hard for. I was mad at myself. I've been working there for like I've been working there for a long time, and I do that, and I look at myself like, man, it doesn't look like I've grown at all. I look like a new worker, spilling shit, But I had to turn that off and just go in each day in a new mindset. And that's ego when I'm telling myself and I'm applying the 3 years, each day was just a new day I was learning. And I think the ego came with just me learning so much from work. I had known I was empowered because I learned every day from work. So each day you will learn a new thing from work, whatever it is. When you become eager to learn, almost like you go into work with that new mindset. You're like, this is going to help me, this is going to improve me. I'm not going to worry, I'm going to just trust the process as much as the process is me going through the stress, doing this, getting this, whatever it is. It's I'm going to just trust it. I'm going to be in the moment and not worry about what's going to happen. I found that can be difficult too. Like when I'm at work and it's bored, I'm worrying about this, I'm worrying about that. I can't just be there. Sometimes people are working at work and they're moving and doing things, and that's what's helping them not think about work because they're staying occupied and the time's flowing. But then what do you do when the time's not moving? You're sitting there at work and work sucks because you're there every day bored. What if every day at work is boring for you and you're just like on your phone or some shit? You're like, you don't like it. That can teach you something too. That can teach you that some environments are boring. It can teach you that you don't work in boring environments. It can teach you that you like to be paced. It can teach you that you like to be worked. You like to be put under pressure. It's just, you learn certain things through these certain experiences. So that's what I'm saying with my job is that I've learned certain things through my experience. I've learned through my relaxing days that you could appreciate a calm day and you could appreciate a busy day, because a busy day can push you through and a calm day can help you appreciate that not every day is going to be busy. You'll have relaxing days. And I think then you look forward to the relaxing days some days. It's something that will come to you those days. Not like too hard, because if you look forward to them, they're not going to happen as much, but then it's something that arises and you're like, oh, today's going to be a relaxing day. That's cool. Chat with my coworkers, whatever, I'm trying to do something that applies to all the different work experiences, because there could be people that work in the food industry and like whatever, but it's like in general, most people can have a good and a bad day. So like that's when you can identify, through time that you strengthen from those bad scenarios. Like you look at a scenario that happened at work like a month ago and you're like, it's not necessarily as bad. So if I could think, I'll try to think of another like work scenario that happened with me real quick. So like, okay, the phone, right? I'm not a manager there, right? I'm just another worker. I'm a coworker, but I want to move to manager. So part of that is wanting to show my managers that I can do the big tasks. So one of those is picking up the phone. When the phone rings, I want to pick up the phone and help the phone. But like, I find myself effing that up time and time again. I pick up the phone. I can't hear what they're saying. I pick up the phone. They're foreign. I don't speak fluent Spanish, so that's another thing that happens. A lot of people speak that language and they call, and I don't speak. I have to give the phone to someone else. I'm like, man, I can't help these people. How can I not help these people? But how can I be manager if I can't pick up the phone? You know, another thing with I can't. I have to be confident. I have to speak up on the intercom, like when I'm doing, like when I'm calling someone like Deli Line 1. I have to yell, or like I'm telling someone to pick up a call on line 1 or whatever. I'm calling someone up to the front desk. I have to be loud. You know, it's a bunch. It's all those tough moments that you're thrown into the, you know. But I'm trying to do good, and that's the best part, when you can learn at work and you can learn the situations that you can improve. Oh, I can improve from doing something I'm not used to doing. I can improve by doing something I don't usually do, because you know, and if I'm messing it up, like I'm doing at work, I'm messing it up and it's showing that it's not actually improving or doing me any good. But I'm doing it, and I'm getting more comfortable now at using the phone because I'm doing it more and more and more. As much as I'm screwing it up, I can't look at that much. Next time, I'll probably have a good experience on the phone. Who knows? I just have to go with a fresh mindset, just like with work, you know. I could look at it, every little thing like that too. Like, for example, I cut back to the fucking fish. You know, now I learned from that fish to make sure I don't put everything to put any, like, frozen items in. I think it almost happened another time after that, and I caught myself, and if it had to happen another 3 times, that third time would really teach me, hey, don't do that, you know. It's just, it's the time and when we'll learn things. One thing I didn't like is that we couldn't be, like, taught things somehow formally, because sometimes I learn things like that and I wasn't thinking about it, and I feel stupid, and I wish, you know, somebody told me. But I'm like, hey, maybe that's nonsensical. Maybe you just weren't thinking. You can't pressure yourself. It's just, you learn, you live, you learn. It's trial and error, you know, trial and error. You know, you'll go the wrong route, but you'll get the right route. You know, it's the process. And I hate that sometimes work can be such a difficult thing. A lot of people don't emphasize on how customer service doesn't appreciate the work that people go through. The customers suck. Dealing with them every day, people really lobotomize themselves to it, maybe because they're working there all the time and they're used to it. But like starting, they see the customers and they're stressed, and sometimes a customer yells at them and it freaks them out. They're like, why did this customer just take it out on me? Take it personal. They start mind wandering. It's like they didn't expect this at all, you know. There's a lot with the customer service. You can learn a lot from somebody's like customer service experience. They'll tell you a bunch of stories, you know, how stress oriented they were, how they literally had the 1,000-yard stare there, you know. I feel like I've came home, looked in the mirror at work, and my eyes are burning red. That, or I've been staring at the screen for 7 hours there, but it's like either or, you know. There's some days where I came home, was like beat and exhausted, and I went home to bed and I was like, I do not like what I'm doing. But then a couple weeks came in of having that same shit, but then I had a really good day at work where, you know, my drawer was perfect so like for an example, it was a stressful day. I was helping thousands of customers, but I counted my drawer at the end of the day, it was perfect. All the cash was added up perfectly. I was messing up the cash and everything, but thankfully, without me thinking about it, I had added up the cash the entire time perfectly. So there was a little reward I got at the end of my day for, you know, just like keeping through, not worrying too much about what happened. And even if I did worry about what happened, I still went through. And work, you can't quit. You really can't quit out. You have to keep going through work. You know, that's something you have to keep doing. So work kind of forces you in. So that's the good perspective to look at it. Like when you're forced into those shitty scenarios, you don't want to be like, I fucking quit. And even if you are, it's like if you just keep going, even with that mindset, it's stronger. I'm going in circles, but it's like, in general, the strength is rewarded at work. I found the strength is truthfully rewarded when you're at work, taking on the responsibility at work every second, no matter how you view it. And it's even more of a reward when you don't like it. You know, you can identify the reward by the things you don't like. And I think then you're learning to like those things by doing the things you don't like. Maybe you learned something about it you didn't know. It's most of the time it's because you didn't try it, or you've tried it and failed. It's just about trying it over and over again, just continuing. This is what I was talking about. I was talking about this earlier. It's the continuity of doing something. If you talk about somebody working out, they can tell you they can do something in one day, and that's impressive. They can lift dumbbells, they can eat a lot of shit, they can do all this crazy stuff. That's impressive. But has that person then done that progressively every single day, regardless of how they feel? That's impressive, right? Because there's conditions that come up in a person's life and that test you. Hey, today you woke up shitty. Do you really want to get up and go start your routine again? You really don't, but if you do, you'll get an extra reward for doing it. And that's what we need to see is like we run from when life gives us toughness, but that's when we are tested for everything. That's when we're thrown in the ring. It's like, hey, here's your test. Here's everything you're working for. Here's a strengthful situation. Here's your time. And then sometimes what can happen is you can take on that strengthful scenario, and if it fails in that way, you look at it like, man, I'm not strong enough for this. I'm not good enough. And then you really beat on yourself if you really look at it like that. But it's all strength if you just do it. It's all strength in the continuity. Like I said, the person that was doing it each day, no matter what, if that person that was working out each day, eating each day was failing, hey, they still did it every single day, and that's still respected and rewarded universally. And that's what I'm saying, is that from being here for a while, I can learn that the time that I've put in and the effort and the strengthful days, I feel in my eyes have been rewarded. They've been rewarded. Not in the way I felt it would be rewarded, but I feel rewarded because I learned some things and I'm strong with some things, and then I can then teach these things to coworkers or like friends, or like say these things however I can if they're in my shoes or whatever. It gives me the insight. I like the insight because then I just like to teach things. I like when I learn something, I then like to share it. I don't like to be greedy with my knowledge, So like I like to share that work I've learned to just chill, just like stay patient, you're good, keep doing it, and then one day some cool shit will happen, and even if one day some cool shit will happen, keep going, and then some cool shit will happen. And that's how I view it. But I don't expect the cool shit. I just keep partying on the process. I keep doing the process, working every day. The good thing is you're making dough. That's the best part. You're making bread when you're working at these jobs. That's the only way people look at it, and that's the best way. Just be humble, stay calm, you're making money, it's all good. But then you tell yourself that, and then you get sent home early, it's all right. It's all part of the process. Slowly, surely, it's okay, You're going to slowly understand that book that you read when you were younger. I totally forgot what it was, but it was like the turtle. I don't know. I totally forgot. But you'll learn that the strengthful scenarios are going to reward you. They are. I'm going to kind of talk about the things I like about my job, kind of why I stay there, kind of the things I like. I kind of wrote a list here so I can remember. So number one, I like that I can see the prices of items and the items in the various items. I like that I work in that industry, that I could see and I scan things. I see what they cost. I can go buy something. I know how much it is. I could see the cheap things. I could see the things on sale. I get that advanced little knowledge that's nice to know, because recently I've tried these Belgian waffles from there, and they were amazing, and I wouldn't have known about them if I didn't see the customers buying them and I was interested. And, through that, I learned that I get to see all these different items. Like, I've tried so many different things working there. Like, they've introduced me to mangoes. They've introduced me to dragon fruit. Introduced me to trying, I haven't tried an avocado since I've worked. I was so, not interested in trying foods, but, I ran into these foods all the time. I tried them. That's one thing I like. I see these customers buy them, and they make me think, wow, I wonder if they're healthy, they're good. They tell me positive things. I learn about these foods, and that's one thing I like. One thing I could talk about, for an example, the yucca root. I had no idea about this. There's a yucca root, right? Basically, it's like a potato alternative, I had no idea what the fuck it was. Basically, you chop it up and it's like you can make chips out of it. You could put it in a soup. You could do a bunch of stuff with it. It's like, but basically it's healthier than a potato. And I learned from that and had no idea of it prior from working there. So it's introduced me to all because there's foreign people that shop there and try all these new foods. Another thing is a rambutan. I don't know if I'm saying it right, rambutan or rambutan. I don't know if I'm saying that one right, but it's this little fuzzy thing. It's like lychee or lychee. I don't know if I'm saying that right either. I think it's lychee, but it's like lychee, just fuzzy, hard on the outside. Tastes really good. Also really good for you. Has like 30 benefits. It's good for your eyes, your skin, your hair, all this crap. I've tried aloe vera recently, and I actually really like aloe vera. I used to not like it. Like, you can drink aloe vera. I didn't, people use it in their hair. It's in products, but you can drink it like with little chunks in it. I like this mango aloe vera. I find it really good, and I've been buying it in these like giant bottles. So yeah, I like that my job introduces me to new foods, like the various foods, and then I end up trying and liking them. So that's one thing I favor my job for, is introducing me to new things. It gives me growth. It's like, oh, now I've implemented these in my life. Now I eat this and now I eat that, Another thing is fucking Parisian loaf. Oh my gosh, the bakery made this loaf of bread I once tried, because sometimes I'd be helping customers and I'd get a warm loaf, and I'm like, oh my god, one of these times I gotta try this thing. And one of these times I went back there and I was able to get my hands on a warm loaf, and it was amazing. It was on my break in 15 minutes. I ate like 60% of that fucking thing, right? And my stomach clogged up. I remember I was sitting there and I had to jump to force it down. I was eating that. It was the Parisian loaves there. They were amazing. They were. I'm just kidding with that story, but yeah. I've basically, in general, I've tried all these new foods from that job, and I feel like just seeing them, they've introduced me to them. Other than going there and trying them, being in a store when I was younger, it was different. Seeing them, working with them, scanning them, seeing the price of, it's a different experience. Second thing, friendly customers. Sometimes I'll run into friendly customers. I've been working there. I get familiar faces now. Now I recognize some people. Some people recognize me. They'll say hey to me. They recognize my haircut. That was kind of cool. A customer recognized my haircut. That was something I wasn't expecting. But yeah, some customers, if you're working there for a while, they'll recognize you if they come in. I've learned that some customers come into work or come into my store every single day. I don't know why. They shop every single day. Some people do. It's just, but we work every single day. That's not illogical, Another thing, coworkers, friendly coworkers, some days I have coworkers I like to chat with there, and I look forward to the days I have those coworkers. So I'm like, cool, my buddy there works, so I'm gonna go, he'll be there to talk to me if we're both not helping anyone, Those little things to look forward to. Mostly the friendly customers I really look forward to, because I've had a lot of shitty customers, so it's like it expects you to think everyone's in a negative mood, but so then when you run into someone like, hey, how are you? It's like, it makes your day. It makes you happy. You're like, whoa, that's nice. Somebody actually cares about me. Whether it's just talk, because usually I have cashier talk. I'm usually just find everything all right today, I ask the bullshit, but then if they start it, then it's like, oh, they actually care. They're asking me. I'm not asking them, 3, this one's a little weird. I like the environment. I like that it's a big store. I don't know. I like that spatialness. The position of where the cash registers are, there's big glass windows, and when the sun shines and the sunset hits, it beams on you. That's nice. In the morning, the sun hits you. It's a nice feeling. I like that. It's just, you see the sun, and you see you see outside, but you're not outside. So on the mornings where it's cold as shit, you're looking at the beauty and you're not outside, but you can see through the big windows. It's it looks really nice. So that was one little thing. 4 are my breaks. I like my breaks there because it's then I'm at a grocery store. I can then on break just go buy something at the grocery store. I kind of like that. I thought that was nice. I couldn't do that at my other job. I had to go to this other gas station to get food. But here I can just, every time I go on break, I just go to one of the lanes, find something like a bag of chips or something, and it's easy. I have that. That's something nice that I have and don't have to worry about when I'm eating. Other customers take advantage of that. They can go to the hot section, and that's nice too. The chicken was pink one time. I had a bad experience. I'm not going to play with that again. Another thing, it's in proximity with me. It's close. My job is close to where I am. I like that. I like that it's like a 2-3 minutes away. I like that it's not a far hike. I imagine that my next job is going to be a little farther, so I'm appreciating that this one's close. That's just a small thing I like about my job I was going to cover. I kind of got into the foods. And then, in general, to finish, I like knowing what I'm doing there. Being there for a long time, I like showing up knowing I've been there for a while. It's just a feeling like I know what I'm doing. I log in, I sign in, I do everything. It's just you do it for a while, you get so used to it, you don't think about that. But sometimes I just still think about that. That's something I like. Sometimes a customer will be like, wow, you're fast. Or sometimes it'll be like, wow, you know all those codes. That's impressive, So they kind of make me think about it. I'm like, yeah, it is kind of impressive that through time that's kind of been lodged in my brain. I'm kind of finally learning it. I appreciate those things. I like that I can see my strength reflect. That's kind of how I see my growth reflect when people see that I'm doing good. I kind of like that in those little scenarios. And that's kind of from what I can think of mostly. In general, the big things I like. I like that I could use a bathroom every day. There's a bunch of little things, but those are the big important things I like about my job. And the end all be, I was just kind of chatting about my job in this video, just kind of, what I like about it, why I like it, my experiences. I have really shitty days sometimes, but I know my job is with the customer service, and I just, I don't fixate on it too much. I know customers can be this way, and maybe another day this way. I know I'm becoming smarter and knowing we're all working and we're all tired, and, most customers won't be happy regardless because they're always working, for an example, a Monday morning, you can't expect everyone to be smiling. Everyone's tired, There's just certain things you learn. But yeah, in general, I like my job. I'm appreciative of a lot of it. There's a lot of good there besides the negativity that you have to work with the customers. There's a lot of good there that I've learned from leaving, finding another job, having a different experience, but coming back here, And I've learned that there were things to look at before and after. It's not just a time thing. There are things to like throughout the process. There are small things to find in your job that you like, that you got through the shift, that it was difficult. It's hard to find it's hard to find that a thing to like, that the job is difficult. But I've learned that when you have a difficult day, that's like God or the universe throwing you a challenge, and it's well, you have to do it now because you have to show that you can. And then when you can, it's yeah, up top, you did it. That's pretty cool, I like to think about that, So yeah, that kind of finishes it. That was kind of what I was talking about. I don't think I have anything else to cover. I'll try to think real quick. Yeah, just in general, yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, I just kind of wanted to chat about my job a bit, cover some things, share what I think about it, whatnot. So yeah.